Hey guys, welcome to video 2, finding the rth term notes. In the previous lecture, we learned how to expand the binomial, 2x minus 5 to the fifth, and we learned that it's going to be 6 terms, and we expanded it, and we had that whole 3-column procedure to do that, and it requires a lot of work. Problems take a long time. What we're doing in this is really a piece of that, where instead of give me the whole thing, I just want the third term. So I don't need to do all 6 terms of this binomial expansion. I just want to know the specific third term. And we have up here a formula that's going to allow us to do that. Now, the third term of this, if we were going to do the entire thing, so just pretend for a moment I don't want the third term. Pretend for a moment I want the entire thing. Our exponent is 5, and so that would go 5c0, 5c1, 5c2, 5c3, 5c4, and 5c5, where this is our first term, then our second term, our third term, which we're going to focus on, our fourth term, our fifth term, and our sixth term. I just want to point out why this says NCR minus 1. That if we want the third term, it's going to be 5C2 is the third term. It's not going to be 5C3 because remember you start at 0. And so because you start at 0, 0 is your first term, 1 is your second term, 2 is your third term, so on, so on, so on. So if I want, like, say, the 7th term or something, it's going to be some number C6, one less than that, because I'm starting at 0. So that's the first thing to point out. So this is really what we're focusing on here. We have 5C2, and I'm just going to rewrite this again over here. 5C2 times our first term, 2x, and the exponent for that, well, remember what the exponent for 2x would be like if we were to do this whole thing. The exponent here, well, remember this row starts at 0 and then goes up. This one starts at your exponent and goes down. So we'd start at 5, and then 4, and then 3, and so on. And so that's going to be a 3. But the shortcut to that is n minus r minus 1. And that's a little confusing because remember this is r minus 1. So I think a much easier way to remember that exponent is simply if you subtract these. 5 minus 2 gets you that exponent. And that'll be the case for any row at any given time. That 5 minus 0 is 5, 5 minus 1 is 4, 5 minus 2 is 3, and so on and so on. And then our second term, negative 3. This, if you remember this column, matches what this column does. It starts at 0 and goes up. So that exponent is always going to match this number. So because it's 5c2, this exponent is a 2. Now where we need to really be careful with this, and I mentioned this in the past, is that this is very similar to binomial probability. Remember the probability of something at least happening 3 out of 5 times. And the thing I always told you about that was remember that this and your first exponent always match in binomial probability. This is not binomial probability. This is binomial expansion. And this and our second exponent always match. And so it looks so similar to the probability we did in the previous chapter with one very key difference. Instead of this being our first exponent, it's our second exponent. And so you have to be very careful to remember that for probability, the first one's match. For expansion, the second one matches. So from here, now we're just going to evaluate this. What is 5c2? And then let's take a look at that on our calculator in case we don't remember how to do that. Type in the number 5, go to the math folder, over to probability, choose NCR, number 3, and then the number that goes after it, 5c2. That gives us 10. So this is 10. 2x to the third is 2 to the third is 8, x to the third is x cubed, and negative 3 squared and negative squared is positive, so that's positive 9. And again, I could use my calculator for the multiplication. 10 times 8 times 9 is 720. And so my final answer here is positive 720 x cubed. That is the third term of this binomial expansion. If you did the whole thing, your third term would be 720 x cubed. Let's look at a couple more examples. X plus 2y to the fourth. We want the fourth term. So if you want the fourth term, now your exponent here is 4. So that'll be 4c. Remember, this 4 in front of the c has nothing to do with we want the fourth term. It has to do with our exponent is 4. Whatever your exponent is, that's the number in front of c. But because we want the fourth term, it's actually going to be C3. 4c3. So that comes from that. Because remember, it would be 4c0, 4c1, 4c2, 4c3 would be our fourth term. So whatever term you want, the number after c is 1 less than that. Times x, and our exponent doesn't match this 3. It's actually the difference of 4 minus 3. 4 minus 3 is 1. And then our second term, 2y, this one matches the number after c, so the 3 there. 4c3 is 4, because anything c, 1 less than it, is the number in front of c. X to the first is x to the first. And 2y cubed would be 2 cubed, 8. Y cubed multiplies out to, I just have 4, there's a 1 in here, and 8 is 32. I have an x to the first and a y to the third. That's it. One more example. Find the middle term of 5x plus 2 to the 6th. So what would the middle term be? Well, remember, because I'm raising to the 6th, that means that there's going to be 7 terms, and I'd have 6c1, 6c2, 6c3, 6c4, 6c5, 6c6, and that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 zeros to start. Don't forget about that, that's important. So our middle term would be here. And so it works out that your middle term is going to be your exponent divided by 2. Now you can only have a middle term when you're raised to an even, because that means you'll have an odd amount. So basically you could just, when you see middle term, divide this by 2. That'll get you your, what you're working for here. But the reason why it is because we have 7 terms starting at 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But this is going to be your middle. So 6c3 is our middle term. It's the same thing as our fourth term out of 7. Times our a term, 5x, raised to the third, not because it matches this number, but because 6 minus 3 is 3. So this is a case where my exponents will match. Times my b term, 2, also to the third. And use my calculator for a lot of this. 6c3, 6 math, probability, NCR 3 is 20. Times 5x cubed. 5 cubed is 125. X to the third. Times 2 to the third is 8. So I definitely need my calculator for this multiplication. 20 times 125 times 8 is 20,000. So 20,000 x cubed will be my final answer. Okay, in class we'll practice this quite a bit. So I just want to, I don't like the way that equal sign looks, and I'm a perfectionist about this. The video is over. So nice, neat equal sign there. We'll practice this tomorrow in class. See ya.